So like he said, I'm Jenny Bigman, and I'm the other Sea Grant Fellow, and I will be presenting by the numbers today. And so the numbers you have in front of you are from early last week, and thus they're not the most current numbers, and I have those current numbers in front of me. And as I go through each topic, I'll compare the numbers that I have. So for water storage, the numbers are still low, which is relative to the long-term percent of average. And moving to precipitation, the amount of precipitation has not changed for several weeks. Delta operations. The Central Valley pumping was reduced to 0 on June 8th, and this outage will continue for 3 weeks to complete the installation of Hydrolux fish screens in the secondary channel of the fish facility. And exports at the state water projects are 750 CFS, and that's 450 CFS for the Central Valley project and 300 CFS for the state water project. So moving on to fish. 78 juvenile Delta smelt have been entrained at the pumps since the beginning of the year. And then interestingly, we have Pacific herring. And so there's been 1,780 Pacific herring, mostly juveniles, that were entrained at the pumps in late February through late March. And this is the first time in over a decade that this species has been entrained at the pumps. So moving to water quality. And as you know, electrical conductivity, or EC, is a proxy for the concentration of salinity in seawater. And here it is used to track salinity intrusion into the delta. And as usual, there is a map on the back of the sheet that shows the geographic locations for which EC is reported here. These numbers have changed since last week, particularly on the Sacramento River, due to an increase in water release at the Keswick Dam, which is in Redding. The most current numbers as of June 24th are as follows. So Edmonton EC is now 2,700, and then Rio Vista EC is 372. Hood EC is 135. You'll notice that the ECs for these locations have decreased slightly since last week, and again, this is most likely due to the fact that there's been increased water releases on the upper Sacramento River, and that was an attempt to keep salinity from intruding even further into the delta. On the San Joaquin side, the numbers have not changed substantially, and the most current numbers are as follows. So Jersey Point is 1,515. EC at Banks Pumping Plant is 639, and EC at Vernalis is 430. And there's footnotes on the bottom left-hand side of the page, and they're related to the categories above, and that's just the sources for this information. So I'll take any questions. I might defer to Sam, but I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability.
Questions, Larry?
I just have one question. Is it a factor of the Pacific herring coming because the ECs are increasing? Because don't those fish usually swim in salt water?
Yeah, so you want to answer this? You want me to try?
Go ahead.
Okay, so basically, juvenile Pacific herring utilize lower salinity water as compared to the adults. And so a combination of the low outflows and the salinity intruding in the delta has brought them in. Especially, this has been a really high year for spawning stock biomass, which means that there's a lot of young juvenile Pacific herring in the system already. So in combination with the low outflows, the large amount of Pacific herring juveniles, and the salinity intrusion, that's why I think we're seeing them.
They would have stayed out in San Pablo Bay otherwise, right?
Probably, yes. Yeah, they rarely come into Sassoon Bay.
So it's a factor of just not having flows through the delta, and so they just kind of...
That's probably the most likely explanation. Right. They're known to have the herring population is known to have a relationship to outflow. So in years when there's good outflow, 3 or 4 years later, you have a good population of Pacific herring. There's a pretty good correlation there. So their population is related to flow and salinity.
Any other questions? Jennifer, good job. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.